This, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem.
Gauthier, the fight to get a wheelchair lift in her home has been an uphill battle.
I have to crawl down the stairs on my butt with the wheelchair in front of me to be able to access my house.
While pleading her case to a Veterans Affairs case manager over the phone in 2019, she was told something that would leave her feeling shocked.
If things are so hard at this point and you just can't keep going on, and you know we can assist you with aid to die.
And she's not the only one.
So you serve your country honorably. You are injured, you're dealing with an injury, and of course it is the government's responsibility, of course, to give you exactly what's in your contract, which of course is assistance, of course, this right being medication, and of course things to help you out around the house as you get older, because you earned that when you signed that contract. You earned that right when you actually did time for your country. And the country of Canada chooses to respond to this by simply saying, we can give you euthanasia. We can put you out of your misery, even though this person right here, it looks like she's just having a little bit of a rough time. Guys, before we dive into this topic of Canada's euthanasia law, which, by the way, is set to go into effect here in a couple of months, don't worry, there's a couple of articles I'll be leaving in the description box. And, of course, a certain video I'm going to be using here to kind of piggyback on this, because I would not have known about this until I think it was Lauren Southern who released a video about 2 weeks ago on this. I got a hold of this about a day or two ago, and I've been wanting to do a little bit of a story on this. Now, before we really dive into this, I'm going to let you guys know right now. This video right here is going to be on both Gear Issue 33, and it's also going to be here on Claymore. The video that I'm recording right now is going to have an intertwined cut designed for two separate audiences, because there's a veteran element that needs to be discussed, and there's also a societal element that needs to be discussed. And what I'm going to do is in the second half of the video, I'm going to discuss more of the societal aspect, and then we'll discuss more of the veteran aspect. But obviously the beginnings are going to remain the same. The thumbnails are going to be a little bit different, but at the same time, I think you guys kind of know where I'm coming at with this. The thing is this right here. If you have a parent or if you have a loved one who is dying of a disease and they are, for example, in a lot of pain, then obviously you might would let them go, especially if it's at their behest, if it's their decision to do this. I came face to face with this decision about 5 years ago involving my father. I was wanting him to live and push things through, but he got to the point to where he just couldn't take anymore. Now, he was never euthanized or anything. He just flat out died the next morning after I got the information. I'm sure a lot of you out there in the audience have had to deal with that with a parent. However, giving someone euthanasia or giving someone who's mentally ill euthanasia, or allowing them to walk in and actually ask for euthanasia. By the way, I know you're probably thinking, well, what has got to do with this lady? Don't worry, we'll discuss that here in a second, because like I said before, there is obviously a veteran element here too, because we have a very, very, I think the suicide rate for veterans is way too high. And I understand this as Canada, but I do think this entire thing does apply, and I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of background of where the initial fear of this right here coming true came from, and obviously it's beginning to come to light. Fact of the matter is that if somebody is going through a very, very bad stage in their life, where they're going through a stage where they just have a little bit of a hiccup or whatever, just a few bumpy roads going on in life itself, I don't think that the government should be allowed to give somebody the option of suicide. I don't think people should commit suicide anyways, unless you're doing something like self-sacrifice, like taking a bullet for the president, or maybe you're going to jump on a grenade for a few comrades in the middle of a firefight. Then that right there, I think, is understandable. Of course, obviously, me being a Christian, my Christianity beliefs would have something to do with that. But still, at the same time, though, this right here is just not right. Now, guys, I'm going to play this clip for you, and I'm going to come back on the other side. And, of course, the other side is going to be different for both sets of videos. The one on Gear Issue 33 is going to be more veteran-related, and, of course, this one right here is going to be more societal-related. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and roll this little snippet, and I'll catch you guys on the other side.
I'm going to make in my life. But if you are a Canadian, I am begging you, speak to those in your life that you love who are struggling with mental illness. In 4 months, the Canadian government are implementing medical assistance in death for the mentally ill, not just for the terminally ill, not just those struggling with pain they find unbearable, but for people that are potentially just in a phase of their life where they're having a bit of depression, where they're having a low point. They can now go into a therapist or doctor and say, I want to die. And that doctor will say, okay, let's help you out. We used to have a culture where if someone was standing on a bridge and about to jump, we would call the police or we would go and tackle them ourselves to stop them and let them know, no, this is just a horrible moment in your life, but there is hope for the future. And you will hear story after story where someone is thankful they stepped away from that ledge because their life completely changed around. Now, the government policy is to just push them right off. I'm not kidding. We have multiple instances where doctors have been recorded telling patients that have no interest in suicide, hey, have you considered just killing yourself to stop being a burden on the system? You can look this up. We have cases where people can't afford housing, where they have been euthanized now. We have veterans that have called into mental health assistance lines and been recommended euthanasia. We used to have a culture of life in Canada, and now we have a culture of death. Nearly 5% of deaths in British Columbia, Canada last year were from euthanasia. I am mortified to think of how much higher that number is going to be in the next few years now that we are bringing this in just for mental illness, for depression. Quite frankly, something that is so often phases in people's lives that they manage to conquer so strongly with the people they love. And I think this is all a result of us outsourcing our care, our charity for other human beings to the government and assuming that they actually care as much as we do. I don't have to help the homeless in my city. I have to
agree. I think that the Canadian government does not view you as human, okay? I just don't think that they do. As a matter of fact, I don't think that the U.S. government, to a certain degree, views people in this country as human. Granted, all the insults that are hurled every day from the left at the right, of course, is very, very dehumanizing. I would know a little bit about this because obviously, as somebody who was in the military, I wouldn't know what it's like to kind of dehumanize somebody. Obviously, the idea is to desensitize you, but that right there is another video for another day. Fact of the matter is that we should not be fostering a culture of suicide. We should not be fostering a culture of euthanasia. We just should not be doing this. Just because you are mentally ill or you're going through a very, very bad patch in your life, you should not have the government telling you, have you considered suicide as an option? This right here is ridiculous, and it just goes to show you exactly how insane a government has become. Now, guys, I want to go ahead and throw this out here before I switch to the Gear Issue 33 side of this discussion, which is really just going to be added on. Here is the thing that I've been thinking about this right here for a while. This right here goes back to 2010. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, and once again, somebody's going to come in the comment section and they're going to say, where are your facts on this right here? Well, it was a very, very widely reported story on just about every news network back in 2010. When Obamacare was passed, there was a little provision in there stating that they had basically a 12-person panel, which is ridiculous because it's almost like creating a wise man's committee to make certain decisions about certain health decisions. Now, as I said before, if you have a dying parent and you just want to see them, their suffering end, or say if you have someone with a debilitating disease that quite frankly there's no cure for, and they're at the very, very end of their life and they're going to die within the next couple of days, I understand the point of doping them up, giving them medication so that way they do not suffer. But I think that is a little bit different from euthanasia. Euthanasia is basically saying, I want to die, so you go into a clinic and guess what they do? They give you a bunch of drugs, they dope you up, and eventually you die. That right there, to me, I think is absolutely insane. Now, I understand that the law, of course, may have some provisions in it that don't look so bad on the surface, but at the end of the day, no government should be offering suicide as any form of option. As a matter of fact, no government should be offering anything as much as abortion as an option. It's one of the main reasons why I'm so pro-life. You are seeing the federal government, and I understand this right here is Canada, but it's probably on its way here to the United States soon. You're starting to see a government begin to foster the whole idea of suicide, which means that instead of the government fostering the idea of life, they're fostering the idea of death. Now, guys, this right here kind of spreads like wildfire. We're going to keep tabs on this as we go forward, and the reason why we're going to keep tabs on this is because you're starting to see the societal decay and the societal erosion. And obviously, Canada, our neighbor to the north, seems to be the one that's taken this approach to just about everything. And as I said before at the very, very beginning of the video, this type of crap right here to me, especially with the lady at the very, very beginning, this right here shows me the level of disrespect. It isn't even the fact that it's dehumanizing. It's the fact that it's completely disrespectful to anybody and everybody involved. You put your life on the line for your country. You serve, even though you didn't fight in any wars or anything, or you may not have, But still, though, for the federal government or a federal government agency or an employee to say, have you considered suicide, to me just shows absolute levels of evil that, quite frankly, we have not experienced yet. And with that right there being said, we're going to go ahead and go to the veteran portion of this video, which will be on Gear Issue 33 to go along with this one right here. So if you're on Claymore, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. For my Gear Issue 33 listeners, please stick around. By the way, the Claymore followers, if you want to listen to this section too, I advise you do. Either way, though, this section right here is only going to be on Gear Issue 33, so make sure you guys go subscribe to that channel as well. I have made 2 videos total, 2, on veteran suicide. And somehow or another, the YouTube algorithm has found a way to stymie those videos. Basically what they were critiques of 22 a day, because I thought 22 a day may have been playing a role in making vets think that they were actually weak, which I obviously disagree with that. Obviously, as a veteran myself, I understand the amount of stuff that you go through and the amount of stuff that you have to live with. And I understand that the road is long, it's winding, it's tough, especially if you got family, especially if you got wife and kids. I get that, and I understand that you may want to cope with alcohol or medications or whatever, which I don't think all the guys do. That's not what I'm saying. I know that I have in my personal experience. I've definitely used alcohol as a coping mechanism. Alcohol and, of course, barroom whores. But at the same time, though, they're not healthy. And if anything, what you need to do is you need to go ahead and have the mindset that you're not going to give up. The last thing I would want to do, last thing I would want to hear is that more and more guys who serve their country honorably committed suicide. And I think, as I mentioned earlier in this video, that the mere fact that the Canadian government or any government would foster suicide is a level of evil that, quite frankly, I don't think we've ever seen before. I mean, you're basically dehumanizing people, and you're also dehumanizing the people who are veterans, who, by the way, those veterans probably might not vote for the current government that's in office. I mean, I typically tend to believe that a lot of these people that Trudeau, or hell, even the people that Biden or if Obama might have wanted eliminated, might have been people who were political opponents, people that they viewed as political opponents. Basically, what I'm saying to you is that regardless of how big your adversary is or how bad your adversary is, do not give up under any circumstances. We all know that there are people out to get you, and if you're having a rough patch in your life, please talk to family, please talk to friends. Please do that right there. Please go see a therapist. Please get it out. Get it out of your system. The idea is to grind things out, and the idea is to fight. If you stay alive, you never know what might happen. Life just may get better for you. And even if life gets bad, I mean, dude, think about this really quick. The taller the mountain, the harder the climb, the sweeter the victory. I mean, just think about it that way there. I've got to use the Super Mario Brothers analogy all the time. How many times in Mario Brothers do you die? Okay, you get killed all the time in Mario Brothers, but you get right back up and you keep playing. That is life. That's how it works. God knows life has kicked my ass every day in my existence, and I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue to fight all the way to the end. That's just the way that it is. Guys, Gear Issue 33, John Claymore. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.